It's YJ. The last premiere that I put up, it was a freed slave by the name of Fountain Hughes, who was a part of a project that went on called the 100 Voices Project, where after the Civil War and slaves were freed, they basically went around and interviewed slaves that were freed. And if you go on the National Library of Congress, which is loc.gov, if you go there, there's 66 audio pieces. And they've basically archived these audio pieces in the National Library of Congress. I found out about it through ABC News, who did a story about it. And that's what led me to the National Library of Congress. I went to the website, and when I went there, I was a little taken back because to have 66 interviews, and these are lengthy interviews. The interview I put up, I kind of chopped it down because parts of it were inaudible. And as you see from the subtitles that I made, well, I didn't make them, it's an auto generator. But for an auto generator to work, for AI to work on voice, the words have to be said correctly in English, in which, you heard how he was speaking. So I had to do a lot of editing of the subtitles for that 14-minute piece that I basically broke down, because the original was 28 minutes. But there was a lot of background things going on, so I didn't use it, and you gotta excuse my dirty fingernails. I just got off from work. I work maintenance. My fingernails be dirty until I get in that shower at nighttime after I get off. That's just how it go. That's my line of work. But that ain't got nothing to do with what I'm talking about. So yeah, when I went there, I seen these 66 audios in which they have this thing cataloged and archived, and it's one of those things. I'm glad to see that somebody took the time to do this, because oral tradition is something that is lost within the spectrum of slavery. Oral tradition is lost. It's definitely important, and what I think is lost in that, whenever there's a slavery and what was going on at that time, these oral traditions were lost. The South definitely cooked them books, for lack of better terms. The books have been cooked. So that's the only way that people could get any oral tradition passed down. It's through words. Many weren't writing. It's not like we had just everybody could come over here and have a diary and we have a plethora of diaries of slaves. It wasn't like that. It's completely different. So to have these 66 audios be released on the National Library of Congress, I feel like it's a great thing. Now, how they archive it, like you're looking at a list basically. All you gotta do is hit download. It's all free. The information is there. From their mouth to our ears, the information is there. And I feel like I would be doing myself a disservice to myself for not at least giving them an ear. This was done for a reason. And also, the thing about it, the thing that I might add, when the Fountain Hughes interview, which the one I just premiered, that interview was recorded in 1949. As we know, there was no condenser microphone at this time. So the audios, how they have them listed, they'll say such and such, such and such, whoever the name of them, then it'll say medium quality. Next, when you look down, might say such and such interview, good quality. And Fountain Hughes was one that was good quality, and I actually enhanced it even further. I added some compression. I took some of the bass out of it. I upped up the middle range EQ on it and the treble on it at the same time to just get a clear, more, crisp sound. And on top of that, like I was talking about the subtitles I did do, but auto generate does not do everything that my ears know what was said. And I don't think I didn't get everything. So I'm gonna just go through real quick some of the parts of the interview that I felt like were like a little shocking. None of it's shocking because it's just a terrible time. It's just a terrible time for humanity. If you look at World War II and what happened before it, that's a terrible time. I don't care how you look at it, how you flip it. Jewish people did this, Jewish people that. That's terrible for that to happen, and for that many people to be, when it comes to the Third Reich and what they did in that area. The first thing that stood out to me was that he said his mother, after the war happened, after the Civil War, slaves freed, he said his mother would sell him his mother had 3 or 4 children, and she basically sold each child out, it sounded like, for $1 a month. And he said his mother would come once a month to get her payment to these different families. They would stay at somebody's house for a couple of years, and every month she would come by and get the money for having her own children in these people's houses, basically to do whatever. He didn't go into a lot of details in this, and we'll get back to that in a little bit, and what I think is the reason why, and what he said is the reason why he's not going to say a lot of things. So that's another thing that goes into this. But yeah, the mother selling them for slavery for $1 a month. Now, you know what? Let me go straight into that. He said almost exactly these words. He said, "I could say more, but I don't want to." He said that. He said, "I could say more, but I don't want to." Because it was just too, I feel like, in my opinion, it was just too terrible, the things that he's seen, to just lay it all out there. So towards the end of that Fountain Hughes interview, I do feel like he started to get a little more, when he was talking about how they, used to run off on Sundays and all that, his vocal tone was a little more upbeat. But whenever he started talking about things like that were too, like, you could tell he was holding back some. And he still said a lot in this interview. In one specific part where he said he could say more is, he said when the Yankees came, that of course the Yankees were the North. He said they came and they took the flour, they took the meat, they took the sugar, and just threw this shit in the river. Like, boop. So it's just crazy, man. There was one part of the interview that I felt like was very telling, and it kind of goes back to the Kanye West talking about it was a choice to be a slave, and he basically said, "I'd rather take a gun than end it all. I'd rather take a gun and end it all than to be back in those circumstances." And I feel like that's a very powerful statement that he did say. And I'm so glad that the National Library of Congress did procure this audio and release freely to the public for anybody to listen to hear the words and to hear the voices of these people who were enslaved. I feel like it's very powerful. When I think of my personal family, and I was around my great grandmother, she passed, and a lot of these things I was too young to be in the mind state to even ask certain questions. Even when it comes to my grandmother, I was not in the mind state to even ask certain questions, to get certain oral tradition or history. And that's what I think is lacking in a lot of us, is not having a sense of belonging or a sense of history, because it was snatched. Like, our history starts here, and but really the true, and I'm gonna use this word I don't use a lot, but the true woke people know that our history definitely goes back further than this, and it definitely, the impact of melanated people that look like me, our history when it comes to on a worldwide scale is definitely, we've made our mark. So I don't have any doubt that people that look like me have done great things. If you haven't seen, check the last video I uploaded on my channel of Fountain Hughes, Mr. Fountain Hughes, and I'm gonna try to find some more audio. Some of the audios, they're just inaudible. I'm sorry. It's 66 audios, but some of those, I gotta do a lot of work to get those audios, to get the actual sound wave of the audio to pop how I did on that audio. So we'll see. It's a work in progress. I do know the next couple weeks I'm not gonna be recording as much music, and that's one thing about my channel. When you see me doing more content, that means I'm not doing as much music, or I'm not doing it at all. And that's kind of what's going on now. I'm gonna try to get some more content in and just plug away for a couple weeks. Then I go back to being YJ and, you know, mixing and all of that, and hooks, choruses, and verses, and, you know, Bank Music Group. That's where all that happens. That's where all that goes down. TTF V2, of course. If you go to my playlist, you go to my releases, my body of work is there. Now, my catalog goes back way further than my channel, but trust and believe that TTF V2 got something on it that I know people want to hear. Yeah, man, I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here. YJ, I'm out, man.